and a bottle of sherry. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tara East. I'm a writer, blogger, YouTuber, and the author of the mystery novel, Every Time He Dies. And in this week's video, I want to talk about writing from home. With the arrival of the pandemic, many workers were forced out of their office spaces and back into their homes. At this time, I heard so many authors say in interviews and online that for them, nothing really changed with the lockdown. They worked from home anyway, so rolling out of bed and going to their desk was nothing new to them. Several, jokingly, said that they'd actually spent their entire careers preparing for this very moment. For some, the only thing that really changed was that they were no longer the only person home. Though this is not an insignificant fact, to a degree, maybe it's true that writers who work from home were actually the best prepared and the least affected due to the lockdowns. In a recent piece for The New Yorker, Carl Newport noted that historically, writing is one of the few cognitively demanding tasks that was always performed outside of a professional office or workspace. Just think about it. When you sign a publishing contract with Penguin Random House, it's not like they include a workspace in that contract, nor does Ingram Spark when you decide to use them as a distributor for your self-published venture. Writers decide for themselves where they are happiest to work, and for many novelists and freelance writers, that just happens to be at home. Obviously, a huge part of this would just be a financially based decision. You don't need an office or a formal workspace in order to write. Why spend all that extra money renting a co-working space when hypothetically all you need to do in order to write is have a laptop or a pad and a pen, and then you're good to go? The second reason comes down to convenience. It's just too easy to wake up, go about your morning routine, and then sit down and begin work. No commute, pants optional. You don't have to buy a coffee every hour in order to pay for the table that you're occupying in a cafe, and you don't have to pack up your laptop and all of your notes every time you want to go to the bathroom if you're working in a public library. This is actually my biggest pet hate about working in public spaces. And yet, despite the financial benefits and convenience of working at home, some authors have actually gone to great lengths to get out of the house. Prior to the pandemic, Joanna Penn would go to a cafe and spend her entire morning writing, and how she justified taking up the space was buying a coffee every hour, and she'd usually occupy that table for up to 4 hours every single day, Monday to Friday. Nonfiction authors such as Gretchen Rubin has an office space inside her home, but when she's working on a book, she actively chooses to go to a small public library near her house because she finds she's better able to focus there. Ray Bradbury worked on a typewriter in the basement of UCLA. Maya Angelou used to rent out hotel rooms, arriving at 6:30 in the morning with nothing but a Bible, a yellow legal pad, and a bottle of sherry. T.S. Eliot, Kafka, Gertrude Stein, and F. Scott Fitzgerald all wrote while sitting in cafes. Beloved Zen devotee and writing guru Natalie Goldberg appears to write just about everywhere, to be honest, from workshops to long walks to friends' houses to cafes to park benches and just about everywhere in between. I don't know that there's many places that Natalie Goldberg doesn't write. So why do all of these writers choose to work outside of the home, despite the benefits of pajamas and free coffee and tea? Now let's back up a second. Part of the reason why there were so many how to work from home articles when the pandemic hit is because working from home is not actually the most supportive environment. Why? Because we associate this space with family time, nourishment, celebration, and rest. 4 words that we don't use to describe work. Beyond this, however, is the very simple fact, and I'm sure you can see this coming, is that homes are filled with distraction. Every short trip to the bathroom or kettle risks derailing your productivity. Seeing a laundry basket full of dirty clothes, a dishwasher in need of emptying, a wilted pot plant, or dusty shelves sends a signal to your easily distracted brain. You should do this. It'll only take a minute, but as Newport argues, the visual cues destabilize the subtle neural dance required to think clearly. Some people love to work from home because it means that they can do these little domestic tasks in between their work-related tasks. But according to Newport and other academics concerned with the link between cognitive processes and productivity, home may not be the most supportive space for cultivating good work. Maybe it doesn't sound like that big of a deal. Does it really matter that you put on a load of laundry between scheduled tasks? Well, no, it doesn't, but that's not really what we're talking about here. Instead, think about or imagine your home is basically a minefield of potential distractions. And even if you don't actively engage in those distractions, your mind is momentarily pulled towards this urgent but unimportant domestic task. And in pulling your attention away, you are no longer able to maintain your focus and attention on the thing that you are actually working on. It takes a lot of discipline and energy to write, and we don't want to waste those finite resources on overcoming these potential distractions. See, laundry, dishes, vacuuming, mowing. And I haven't even begun to talk about the distraction of other people. Working from home is often presented as a perk, and it's one of the few benefits that writers, well known and not, actually share. And yet, there are many writers who have foregone this privilege in the name of productivity. Perhaps the solution is, as Cal Newport comes to, we don't need to work from offices and we don't need to work from home, but maybe we could work from near home. For those on a shoestring budget, this may look like working at public libraries or cafes, but you'd actually be surprised at the sort of creative solutions you can come up with here. I've spoken with authors who have used their empty spaces above bookstores, or they've contacted their public library and organized a private space that they can use for work. A lot of magic can happen when you just ask, and the worst that can happen is that they say no. And I'm pretty sure you can handle that. If you can afford it, yes, by all means, go ahead and rent a workspace in a co-working office, or hiring a room somewhere in your town is an ideal solution. Now, is this necessary? No, it's a completely unnecessary cost, and it's a very privileged expense. I recognize that. But if you are able to do this, it's really a grand gesture to yourself that you are leveling up from being an amateur to a professional, or so Stephen Pressfield would say. This kind of investment is a signal that writing is important to you and that you are actually taking this seriously. You're worth backing. And you never know. The cost of this workspace may actually be covered by your increase in productivity. Now, of course, with all writing advice, you need to decide what's best for you. I don't know what your finances are. I don't know if you're a full-time writer or if this is just a hobby and you're trying to maybe just improve your productivity in general. But I do think that this is an aspect of our writing routine that deserves some serious experimentation. Now, I do want to add a small caveat here about how working in public spaces, particularly free ones, can have their own inconveniences, like having to pack up your stuff or having to pay for constant coffees to justify you using the table. Now, even though these things are inconvenient and often can lead to small costs, they are less distracting than seeing a dirty pile of laundry or having somebody knock on your office door every 30 minutes. Just something worth considering. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Do you write from home? Do you find that this is a supportive environment, or is it a little bit distracting? If you write at home, please share what types of locations work well for you. Cafes, libraries, co-working spaces. Do these things make writing easier? Leave a comment below and tell me all about it, because I'd love to hear. Now, if you'd like even more writing advice, you can head to taraeast.com and dive into the archives. Of course, you can also check out the other videos on this channel. If you visit my website, please consider joining my email newsletter. There's a link below this video as well. When you do, I'll send you a free gift. Who doesn't love a free gift? And you'll receive an email from me every single week where I hopefully talk about useful stuff. And I include a little note, a quote of the week, some resources that I've discovered and I think you'd really enjoy too, as well as some little tidbits that I only share via email. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate that you show up and that you give me your time every week. Stay safe, stay calm, and keep writing because the world actually does need more books.